Guyana's efforts to improve nutrition and cut hunger lauded as the World Environment Day focuses on food wastage. China commits $3 billion to the Caribbean, and the 1,000 Homes project launched at New Perseverance on the east bank of Demerara. These and other stories in this week's edition of The Diary, the Government Information Agency program that recaps the highlights of the country's president for the week June 1 to 7. Now for the details. The government has hailed the housing program foremost among its developmental accomplishments, and the launch of the 1,000 Homes project at New Perseverance scheme aback of the Guyana National Stadium on June 7 was the addition. The symbolic planting of the flag at the New Perseverance housing scheme aback of the Guyana National Stadium at Providence on June 7 marked the launch of the 1,000 Homes project. It signifies the latest move in the turnkey housing initiative, started by the Ministry of Housing in 2011 as a recommendation to improve the quality of life for every Guyanese. Available at the low and moderate income levels, a significant number of turnkey houses have already been constructed under this project at Eccles, Monrepo, Good Hope, Zealot, and Leonora. President Ramotar was pleased to be part of such an auspicious occasion.
Owning your own house is extremely important. As I have said at previous occasions, only those of us who lived in rented houses for a long time will have the appreciation of the feeling that you get, the secure feeling that you get when you have your own home. And that is very important, not only for your immediate security, that nobody can throw you out of your own home, but it gives you asset that you have, a very important asset that you can do other things with.
The Ministry of Housing has assured that within a matter of 8 months, a substantial number of turnkey houses will be completed in the area, which can be accessed via the road leading to Mocha. The project falls within the East Bank Demerara Development Initiative, where the services of health, education, commerce, and finance are within reach. It is in keeping with a promise made by the head of state in his 2012 independence message to the nation to make home ownership much easier.
Many of them don't have the time, the patience, and ability to source a good contractor to construct their homes and to supervise the construction. As a response to this need, the ministry recommended the program to build turnkey homes for families and sell these homes with the land for $4.7 million. The ministry has so far completed approximately 300 of these homes in schemes in Region 3 and 4.
The New Building Society is a key partner in the project, which commenced with a pilot of 20 homes and subsequently grew to 300. It has become such an appealing offer that every aspiring homeowner at the low and moderate income levels are going for the real estate option.
And in our 2011 manifesto, we promised that by 2016 that we would deliver 30,000 house lots to the Guyanese people. Last year, in pursuit of that goal, the CHNPA delivered some 7,940 lots they made available, and they exceeded their targets by 22% because the target for last year was 6,500 lots. And they managed to process 4,177 titles. That's a 12% increase from the target of 4,000 that they had.
Work was set to commence on June 7 with surveying simultaneous to land clearing and completion of the tender process, clearing the way for contractors to commence infrastructure works. The quality and quantity of food that goes to waste on a daily basis when considering the number of people living in starvation the world over was a source of concern as Guyana observed World Environment Day on June 5. But Guyana has been addressing the issue with accomplishments in curtailing hunger and improving nutrition. With the theme Think, Eat and Save, World Environment Day, observed on June 5 this year, focused attention on food wastage. It is said that 1/3 of global food production is either lost or wasted, amounting to 1 billion tons of food yearly. The head of state, in his address at the gathering at the Umanayana for the World Environment Day exhibition, referred to some other statistics that are quite startling.
In the British Parliament, MPs pointed out in a report that they've just given that between 30 and 50% of the food produced in the world is wasted. And this is a devastating figure to think about it, about how much we waste. It's a shocking shame when we consider that a large part of the world's population, they are dying from hunger.
Participants at the forum heard about the number of persons facing hunger and starvation in the world, the quantity of natural resources that is lost, and the social and environmental impact of wasting food. But as custodians of the planet, the participants were advised to take responsible actions by minimizing their footprint as well as footprint on the environment. Guyana can be seen as an example where this is concerned, having been recognized by the Food and Agriculture Organization for its efforts to cut hunger and improve nutrition, as President Ramata related.
Guyana is one of 17 countries out of 189 countries that is being recognized by the FAO of not only achieving the Millennium Development Goal as far as cutting hunger is concerned, but we are only one of 17 countries that have actually improved nutrition. So there must be something that we're doing right to have achieved this. And I think in that regard, Guyana has been offered an award to travel to Rome later this month to receive that award for this outstanding achievement.
Such achievements can be credited to past and ongoing efforts at investing in the expansion of food production to ensure supply adequacy and price affordability. Among them is the $500 million allocated this year for the establishment of a farmer fertilizer and planting material facility, which will boost and strengthen food production and reinvigorate the Grow More Food campaign.
This year the theme is very appropriate. Think, eat, and save. Think before we act, knowing that every one of our action will have some impact. And therefore, it seems to me reasonable for us to begin with ourselves as individuals, to minimize whatever our actions that can have impact on the environment, negative impact, and to maximize those that can have a positive impact to preserving and perpetuating our natural environment.
Some of the rationale given for discarding food, especially those that fail to meet certain phytosanitary requirements, was of concern to the President. The other concerns, which also featured prominently at the forum, were those of littering and pollution of the Earth's atmosphere, major factors leading to health hazards and natural disasters. You're watching The Diary. Thanks for tuning in. More still ahead. The 2013 national budget grants exemptions from personal income tax to first-time homeowners whose taxable income goes towards paying interest on mortgage of up to $30 million from a commercial bank or building society.
The 2013 budget will bring substantial relief to property owners. Tens of thousands of low and middle income earners with net property value of below $40 million will no longer be subject to property tax. From 2014, the tax-free threshold for property tax on individuals will change from $7.5 million to $40 million. Pensioners are to receive a 25% increase in their pension or $12,500 monthly with effect from May 1. Over 42,500 pensioners are to benefit from this increase. Government will also provide each pensioner with assistance of up to $20,000 per annum to pay GPL for their electricity charges.
Ghana's economy grew by 4.8% in 2012, the seventh consecutive year of positive growth. This expansion was due to the macroeconomic policies put in place by government to protect the local economy and ensure a better life for all Guyanese. Economic growth is projected at 5.3% for 2013. The Alliance for Change, AFC, and the Partnership for National Unity, APNU, cut $5.2 billion in subsidy to the Ghana Power and Light Company. Implications of this cut: higher electricity tariffs for GPL customers, prolonged periods of blackout, hardships for the manufacturing sector, increased costs for goods and services, halting of expansion projects that cater for increased electricity demand, and loss of jobs for Guyanese.
Amidst smiles about the investments made in the housing sector and the ease at which applicants can get a loan to build a house, there is concern about the cuts to GPL's budget this year, as utilities are necessary for the housing complement. The subvention allocated to the entity over the years have been allowing it to subsidize the tariff and avoid an increase to pass through to the customers and add burden to their housing demands. There is the fear that such burdens on the customer would decelerate the achievements made in the housing sector, where the financial, private, and construction sectors have collaborated to make the opportunity to become a homeowner much easier.
A lot of people in the low income and the low middle income would benefit from such a program. And I'm still hoping that we will find a way to reverse some of the cuts that are going to affect low income people. For instance, the electricity sector cuts. If that is not reversed, it can cause a huge jump in electricity bill for domestic use, for businesses, and it could be a slowdown to the developmental process that we are pushing for.
The challenges have been compounded by the fact that the budgetary allocations to the Amila Falls hydropower project that is geared to transform the source of electricity generation to renewable energy was also cut. Hydropower has potential to source some 90% of the country's energy needs.
What the specialists are telling me, that when that program comes on stream, that we can have a cut, people can have a cut in their energy bills.
The Ghana Power and Light had appealed for a reversal of the cuts to the company's $5.2 billion allocation, arguing that its capital program that catered for upgrades in transmission and distribution was also in jeopardy. In what can be described a historic bilateral meeting on the sidelines of a two-day visit to Trinidad and Tobago, China's President Xi Jinping told Guyana's President Donald Ramotar that his efforts to promote the long-standing friendship with China are greatly admired. At a bilateral meeting with Guyana's president and his three-member team that included Ministers of Foreign Affairs Kylene Rodrigues-Burkett and Minister of Finance Dr. Ashney Singh, China's President Xi Jinping recalled Guyana being the first English-speaking Caribbean country to establish diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China and the mutual benefits that have accrued since. Speaking through his interpreter, President Xi said since the founding of the diplomatic ties between China and Guyana, there have been constant high-level exchanges. President Ramotar, who had joined his CARICOM colleague heads of state for talks with the Chinese premier, said in the bilateral meeting that Guyana has been in solidarity with the Chinese government and people since in the days of the Political Affairs Committee and later the People's Progressive Party.
It was in that capacity as General Secretary of the party I visited the People's Republic of China, the guest of the Communist Party. I also want to see one of our leaders too, another founder of our party, Mrs. Janet Jagan, had the opportunity of having meetings with Chairman Mao and Chou En-lai, Premier Chou En-lai, when she visited China in 1960s.
Long before the establishment of diplomatic relations, the two countries' relations backdates to the mid-19th century when the first batch of Chinese immigrants arrived to work as indentured laborers. They, along with other immigrant groups, the East Indians, Portuguese, and Europeans, would later make their mark in the annals of the diverse Guyanese cultural society. Chinese nationals constitute the largest group of foreigners in Guyana and are predominantly occupied in the commerce sector. 3 years ago, the Guyana government announced automatic citizenship for Chinese nationals residing in Guyana lawfully for more than 7 years, and an increase in the duration of work permits, easing fears and bringing satisfaction to many who had inquiries. President Ramotar, who last month met non-nationals living and working in Guyana for several years, had assured them that their stay should be as hassle-free and safe as possible. You're watching The Diary, more still ahead.
The 2013 budget will bring substantial relief to property owners. Tens of thousands of low and middle income earners with net property value of below $40 million will no longer be subject to property tax. From 2014, the tax-free threshold for property tax on individuals will change from $7.5 million to $40 million.
Guyana's economy grew by 4.8% in 2012, the seventh consecutive year of positive growth. This expansion was due to the macroeconomic policies put in place by government to protect the local economy and ensure a better life for all Guyanese. Economic growth is projected at 5.3% for 2013.
Pensioners are to receive a 25% increase in their pension, or $12,500 monthly, with effect from May 1. Over 42,500 pensioners are to benefit from this increase. Government will also provide each pensioner with assistance of up to $20,000 per annum to pay GPL for their electricity charges.
Funding in the form of grants and loans were announced by the Chinese government during the visit of the country's President Xi Jinping to Port of Spain recently. The funding, according to President Ramotar, will help with some infrastructure works, and Guyana will examine how it can tap into the resources.
The Chinese government has committed to the region to give the region much more assistance, $1.5 billion in grants to help in some infrastructural work, and $1.5 billion in concessionary loans for the region. So I think China has demonstrated once again its friendship to our region and to help us to try to improve the quality of life for the peoples of our country.
2 years ago, the Chinese government had pledged $1 billion of preferential loans to support the local economic development of the Caribbean region when China's vice premier met CARICOM leaders in Trinidad and Tobago at a business conference of the Third China-Caribbean Economic and Trade Cooperation Forum. Priority areas had been in the field of finance and investment, capacity building, environmental protection, new energy, culture, education, health, trade, tourism, as well as agriculture and fisheries. Well, that's all in this week's edition of The Diary for the period June 1 to 7. The highlights before we go: Guyana's accomplishments to improve nutrition and cut hunger lauded as the World Environment Day focuses on food wastage. China commits $3 billion to the Caribbean, and the 1,000 Homes project launched at New Perseverance on the east bank of Demerara. Do join us again next week when we'll bring you more. I am Fabian Kraus, thanking you for joining us. Have a safe and pleasant rest of the week.